Welcome to Here We Go Again 2016 presidential coverage. Today we're going to look at one of the issues, and that is the Syrian refugee crisis. Now, I said in my last video I was talking about the ISIS crisis, and this plays a little part into it. There's a war going on in Syria between ISIS and the Syrian government led by Assad. Both sides are just pieces of shit. There are other factions who I think are good people, but for the most part it's ISIS versus Assad, and most people, they don't want anything to do with that, so they're taking off. You know, they'll get killed either way, either by the government or by ISIS. And this has led to one of the largest refugee crises since World War II. We're looking at about 40 million people displaced, just running the hell out of Syria. So countries from all across the world are pitching in to help with this crisis, taking in refugees. The United States so far has taken in about 1,500. The Obama administration says by the end of the year they want to take in an additional 10,000. Some people in the UN and human rights organizations say, they would like to see the United States take in about 65,000 total. So let's see what the candidates have to say about the Syrian refugee crisis and what they think we should do and how many people we should take in. First, we'll have MartinMalley. And he said something the following: "It's in our national DNA, inscribed at the foot of the Statue of Liberty. Give us you're tired, you're poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. We are a nation of immigrants and refugees, and we cannot forget what it means to struggle and toil and yearn for a better life beyond the next horizon. The world is in the midst of a nearly unprecedented global refugee crisis, with more refugees than at any time since World War II. How will we respond? Will we listen to our better angels and the voices of moral clarity whispering to us, or will we slam the doors and build the walls?" And of course, the lofty speech aside, he's basically saying that he wants to take in what the UN wants us to take in, which is 65,000 of the refugees over the next year. Next, we'll take a look at Bernie Sanders. And he said something to the fact that people are leaving Iraq, they're leaving Syria with just the clothes on the back. The world has got to respond. The United States has got to respond. And then when asked how many people he thought we should take in, he said it's impossible to come up with a number until we understand the dimensions of the problem. He's also prodded that he thinks that the Arab nations, or Muslim nations as he calls them, they need to take a step forward with taking in refugees. And on the other side, I was able to get Scott Walker's response. So here's what he thinks about the Syrian refugee crisis. Syrian refugees, what's your stance on that?
To me, last year we took over 70,000 refugees in and permanently settled them, of which several thousand were from Syria. My belief is that we've shown that and the $4 billion we put into humanitarian aid for the Syrian crisis, that instead of the Simpsons, we need to deal with the bottom line problem, and that is ISIS and Assad, and we've clearly laid out our plans to take on both.
Right, thank you, Governor. And we're going to look at Lindsey Graham, who basically said that we need to take our fair share. And he also said, as far as how many we've taken in already, given what he thinks is a lack of response, that we should basically tear down the Statue of Liberty. Just take it down. He said if this is going to be the way we respond, when we're not helping out, not taking our fair share, then we don't need the Statue of Liberty anymore. And just for shits and giggles, we're going to take a look at what Donald Trump had to say. So Donald Trump said it would be possible to take in some refugees. But, he went on to say, but we have so many problems of our own. We have border problems that are big league that I exposed. We have so many problems to solve. We have to fix our own country. Now Europe's handling it. Germany has been very generous so far, which is surprising to me. To be honest with you, there's a huge problem, and we should help as much as possible. We have to fix our own. But we have to fix our own country. So now, what do I think about the Syrian refugee crisis, and what should our response be? Well, I think of all the people that we've heard from, I think Scott Walker, I agree with him the most. The biggest problem with the Syrian refugee is the cause. It's the war itself between the Assad government and ISIS. And yes, there are other people funding it who we might like or not. But if the war doesn't stop, this problem is not going to go away. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse. So obviously something needs to be done there. The war needs to be stopped somehow. As far as taking refugees, I really don't have a problem with it. My state, Iowa, back in the 70s, after the Vietnam War ended, we took in thousands of refugees from South Vietnam, people who had been our allies, and had to get it. People who had been on our side, the Allied side of the war, and they needed to get out because the communists were taking over and hunting down anyone who had helped the United States. So we took in thousands in Iowa, and I don't see why the United States can't do something like that again, because the people who are fleeing, they're fleeing ISIS and Assad, people we don't like, our enemies. So these are probably a lot of good people who need somewhere to go. And that's all I have to say about that.